Welcome to this week's show, the Crazy Gentleman Podcast. I'm your host, Crazy Gentleman. We are here at Tennessee Motorcycle Music Revival. And this week's show is brought to you by Bare Knuckle Performance, bareknuckleperformance.com, home of all of the highest quality American-made parts for your Harley Davidson, FXRs, Dynas, Sportsters, Choppers, Baggers, and Indians now. Whatever you want, go get it. Paul's the man. He makes the best parts. Lexan-moto.com for the best audio and communication devices in your helmets. Yeah, also the best. Don't forget to punch in the code word crazy at checkout for 15% off. And also SimbedaCustomKnives.com. Simbeda_custom_knives on Instagram, also for the highest quality outdoor hunting and cutlery knives in the world. Hit him up, man. Evan will build you the world's cleanest, lightest, sharpest knife. And hit up the bumpshopbackroom.com. It's your only place to get the Crazy Gentleman merch right now. And also check out Rodney's vintage finds of all different sorts and his Kickstart coffee company. I think he's also coming out with a hardtail blend soon, but I don't know, man. Only one way to find out, hit the website. Also check him out at Bump Shop Diaries on Instagram. And that's it, man. I'm spent. That's it. And thanks to my producer, Whiskey Eye. All right. I'm trying to streamline that intro, but I guess it's necessary. Anyways, man, we're here with the Eastwoods. Some Tennessee chopper building badasses.
Don't know about the last part.
Yeah. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I can. I'm Keith Wilkins, half owner, fabricator, guy that answers the phone, gets yelled at, all that good fun stuff. This is my dad, Chuck. He is the other half. So you can explain a little bit about what you get to do every day.
Silent partner.
Yeah.
I stay
very silent.
I stay on
Sometimes.
the opposite side of the parts wall.
Yeah. It's usually better that way.
Yeah. He's not silent when the problems happen.
No.
Now, I can be kind of vocal then.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if anybody's there or hanging out or I'm in the middle of something. It's, come here and look at this. Come here, look at this.
Kind of like what that little chick said down there today. My filter breaks at that point.
Yep, it does. Yeah, filter comes off. It fell off rolling down the road somewhere. So
Yeah, never
that's
could
usually
find
how
it.
it goes. It's usually how it goes. So.
Yeah, man. So I honestly always assumed that your guys' last name was Eastwood.
Everybody does.
Where's that name come from?
All right, so I like having autonomy, and so if we somehow one day make it to a level where it's like, hey, you know what? We don't really want to do this anymore, but we have a good parts line or whatever, but we want to keep building bikes. What if we can say, hey, it's worth this much? Are you interested in taking this from us?
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. But then it's also cool to kind of have a story behind everything. Every one of our bikes get a name, and they're named specific for that bike. It never gets reused. So it's the same with our shop. So when we started this whole adventure and even just talking about it, it's like, what do we do? Well, it started in his garage, car and a half garage.
Yeah.
And actually, it wasn't even a garage for the longest time. It was a carport. It wasn't even closed in. We had one room that we
Really?
stashed welders, cutting torch, tools, this, that, the other. And like, it didn't matter if it was 30 degrees outside and you needed to do something. Guess what? You're
Yeah.
working in 30 degrees and wind blowing or whatever, but it's on Eastwood Drive.
Oh, okay.
So
Basically, what it happened was like we was sitting out there one day talking. It's like, hey man, what would you, if we ever started a shop, what would you call it? I asking him, and he sat there for a minute and he goes, why not call it where it started?
Yeah.
Our
It's a hell of a name.
Our street name is Eastwood.
Yeah.
And when we're out, like wearing a hoodie, a hat, a shirt, or whatever, it's nonstop. Where's Clint? Where's Clint? It's like, no, it's not. We're not even Eastwoods. It's just the origin, you know.
Yeah.
It is purely just the starting point, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just thought it was cool.
Yeah, nowadays I think Scott Eastwood, his son.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
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 I think of Clint because I grew up years.
I was the Western.
Yeah, he's like
Yeah.
watching all these old Westerns. I'm pretty sure I've seen every Clint Eastwood Western,
Oh yeah, I have too.
you know,
I have too, man. But
probably by the age of 10, though.
yeah,
You know?
Scott's taking over. Dude, Clint Eastwood's like in his 80s now.
And
Oh,
That guy's
still
like
going.
aging like magic.
I
Yes.
know.
Yes.
It's crazy. I think he had a kid like 7 years ago.
Okay, I was going to say
He's
something
got a
like that,
young
like-
kid, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know how you pull that off. And
I don't either.
I don't think I'm built for that life.
Yeah.
I don't think that's for me.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Too selfish in a way.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, it's
Yeah, after a certain point, man, you got to just call it a day.
well, and it's like too in this, like I don't know, you know how like his deal is and what he does on a regular basis, but for us, we never know where we're going next. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we found out about coming here 3 or 4 weeks before we were supposed to be here, but we were just coming back from Austin, Texas, which we had found out about that trip 3 weeks before we were supposed to be there. January 1, the only thing we knew of was Sturgis.
Okay.
Everything else was a clean slate, and it was like, okay, we'll just pencil it in as we go. And literally, we found out about every event we've done this year, like a month at max before we're supposed to be there.
Damn.
You know, yeah. So, yeah, kids and all that stuff would be very difficult, you know, to pull off, especially with some of our trips, you know, because we'll be gone a week or more for some of them. So,
Yeah, for sure.
that's always an interesting factor.
Yeah. So, you guys got put on my radar last year at Sturgis, man. What other what did that trip look like for you guys?
Oh,
Was there anything else on the
that's-
calendar last year? Or was it just that Sturgis
so
trip?
let's see. Last year we did Big Randy's show, St. Louis Cycle Showcase, or
Uh-huh.
Cycle Showcase St. Louis, however he
Yep.
words it. I always get that backwards. We did that show in February, which we had a great time. It's killer timing because it's February. What are you doing?
Right.
You're
Right.
not, you know, you really have nothing going on. You're playing catch up. So we did that with my blue bike, Kenny Wayne, and really we didn't have a whole lot last year. That I can recall. We did Daytona.
we did Daytona and stuff, but yeah, you're
Yeah,
kind of right.
we kinda really
After
tried not
Sturgis,
to.
that was kind of like a fall off.
Yeah, we didn't come here last year, you know, and we were really trying to get ready to go to Sturgis because we were going to do it a different way than 99% of people do it. You know, it's easy to jump on, you know, a bagger or whatever, like that's more production based. It is easier. I'm not saying that it's easy and, you know, like, oh, you
It's as easy as it's gonna get.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the closest to keeping it simple as you
like
can.
this bike, I tell
Yeah.
people it's like driving a
what
car.
now?
You push the button and that's it.
You know, we
It's as
say
easy as it's
easier.
gonna get.
We say it's easier. Technically, I mean, we shoved their stuff in a box and
Right.
put a stamp on it, man.
That was
so you don't get much
no,
easier than that.
Yeah, that wasn't the hard part.
The hard
Getting your
part
stuff in.
is the gas stops.
Yeah.
Was that the trick though to taking choppers there? Did you guys ship some stuff there?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
so
That's
that is
awesome.
That is a
That's a fucking pro move. That is pro, dude.
that is an absolute necessity, and I wish I could take credit for that idea.
Yeah.
But we had met some people before, a couple years before that. Who knows? You know, we've been going for several years, and they were telling us like they would buy a bunch of stuff, but they rode out. And I'm like, well, what are you doing with it? We ship it back home. Huh. So you're taking it down here and you're putting it in a box and shipping it home. You're not having to carry it. So what if you did that coming out here and going back, and then you don't have to like strap, 45 pounds worth of stuff on your bike or
go.
whatever. Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
yeah. Did you still have shit strapped to your bike?
Well,
No.
we actually took bets of how much each box
After
would weigh.
everybody packed their stuff in a box, it's like, all right, whose weighs the most?
Yeah. There was three of us, and like I'm the guy that's known for coming here. I'm a little different. I know it sounds funny, but I like can be a little much sometimes. I like my shoes to match whatever I've got going on, or I match my bike, or I'm just that guy. I can't help it. I'm just wired that way.
Yeah.
And that comes from the motocross side too. Like I was a boot geek. Like Alpine starts come out, the new pair of Tech 10s. It was limited. Had to have them.
Yeah.
And then you had to like coordinate all this, and I'm still that way. Not maybe to that
Not
like
to that
minute
extent
detail.
now.
Yeah. But so I take a lot of shoes. I take if I know I'm going to be there for 7 days and I got unlimited space, I'm taking 14 pairs of shorts, you know, because it's like,
Right.
what if I get caught in the rain? What if I get this, that, or the other, you know? Like, I overpack for absolutely everything. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So, we all thought it would be me.
What did you bring?
Everything I personally thought I might need. It's better to have it and not need it than it is to not have it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I hate looking to try to buy something there.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if T-shirts, stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't want to spend my time running around shopping.
Right.
I've got bikes to see and places to go, this, that, and the other. So if I thought I was going to need it, hey, I had room in that box. I'm cramming it in there.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it going to cost? Another couple bucks?
Yeah.
Whatever, you know?
Probably $40 back and forth. I think or each way.
I want to say it was
shipping's
like 50,
expensive now.
I think
but
it was like $50 or $55 a box, which
$50 get your stuff back and forth. I mean,
it's better
that's a
than
good
trying
deal.
to haul it.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So technically, the choppers, it was cool as shit going out there.
It was.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fun, easy to get around on the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
The gas mileage.
Man,
I mean, that was the sucky part of the whole deal.
yeah.
Why? What happened?
So, I've got a 93 cubic inch pan. So that's the bike that really, you know, kind of got your eye to like start looking at us. You know, it's rigid Springer 93 cubic inch S&S pan. And it's got a 6-into-4 transmission. It's not like I'm running, you know, 60 mile an hour and turning 3,500 RPM the whole time.
Right.
I can roll 80 and just, you know,
comfortable.
Yeah, and it's just cruising. So, and around around home, 120 miles on a tank, you know, and that's like, okay,
that's pretty good.
Average. Yeah. But it was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to like say 100, because anybody that's ever rode out there or just went out there in general knows how when you really get into Missouri and kind of past that point, it doesn't matter which direction you're going, whether you're going into Colorado or going north from there, you're going to have stints that it's pretty good stretch between gas, you know, even just a gas station, not even just an exit.
Yeah.
So it was like, no risk. I'm not going to chance this. So we said 100 miles. That's what, but we were like, we're still going to be safe. We got fuel bottles. So there was 3 of us that rode out. All 3 of us had a fuel bottle. And I want to say they were like 30 ounces or 32 ounces. Those things are worth a solid brick of gold.
Yeah.
Like once we got there, because we were like, man, if we hadn't had these, we would have been so screwed.
You'll give a shout out for that one?
No.
Because it saved your butt.
It did a lot. So my bike, we leave and it was running great, no problems, you know, but started noticing we stopped in St. Louis the first day. So our goal was to do 500 miles a day. So do it 3 days, get there, get it.
500 miles a day is a lot of miles on those bikes.
It is. And
those aren't easy days.
No. I mean, and 2, it's about your setup, tire pressure, and being used to the bike. So if you're, if you could jumped off of that bike today and said, I'm going to ride a rigid cross country this immediately, you're gonna hate life at that point.
Yeah.
But we're used to them, and we run mids on basically everything. So we're not stretched out. We're comfortable, in control, that whole thing. But my bike started richening up all of a sudden. Like it went from running great, and everything's fine, to it was like trying to black smoke, and it would just like it was falling on its face. Well, I've literally got a couple pairs of pants, a couple shirts, and that kind of stuff with us. We got just enough tools to fix if something breaks, possibly, depending on how crazy it is.
Yeah.
But we're not carrying around jets, and you're not going to just pull over somewhere and find, a bunch of jets laying around for a Super E-carb.
Right.
So I went from, thinking, okay, 100 miles to we were stopping. We were pushing it to 70 miles, and I was still almost empty.
I'll put it to you this way. If we filled up right now and we seen a gas station at 60 miles,
we hit it.
We're hitting it, because you don't know when you're going to see that next gas station in some places up through there.
Right.
So it's like,
that took it from like, okay, not only are we not just riding production based bikes, to Look for every gas station possible, no matter where you're at, no matter how many miles you've already ridden. If you know the area you're in, you kind of know, okay, wait, this might be my last one for, 20, 30 miles.
Right.
Well, that might put us at 100 miles before, on that range. So
and if that bike's sucking gas like that,
yeah.
you're not even going to make 100 miles with the reserve bottle.
No. And so we used, like, literally, I'm burning 2.5 gallons basically. Oh, well, technically 3, down into their 1.5 gallons.
Wow.
That's
for their
how-
1.5 gallons.
No joke. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it just got that rich.
Oh, wow.
So,
But it's really not smoking out the pipes.
it's what's so
anything.
crazy.
I mean, you couldn't smell it, any of that. So
yeah, you can
What
smell
did it
a
wind
little
up being? Did you ever figure
bit.
it out?
Yeah, I did. So I was running a super stock ignition from them, non-adjustable. You could adjust your advance on it, but you couldn't adjust any curves or anything like that. It was just very, locked from the factory. And I changed everything. I've fought this jetting and fought it. And we took it to the smokeout. We went over there, in September. Well, come back and was kind of burnt out. Like, didn't want to mess with it because it was still fighting me. Thought, this makes 0 sense. I even backed it all the way down to the same jets that you would run in an 883, trying to see if that fixed it. Still, too rich. Made no sense. Ignition was going bad. Not a coil,
Really?
nothing else. I changed the ignition out. I went to an adjustable ignition. And because we ran the HI4N for a long time in all of our stuff. And then it was like, well, we're going to start trying the Dynatech stuff. It's a little cheaper, a little more cost effective. So for like our customers, they're going to buy that before they buy the one that does the same thing for twice the price. So
Right.
I can't sell it to somebody if I don't know how it works. And I can't tell them like, oh no, it's good if I've never used it.
Right.
So went ahead and done that and literally set it, played with it a couple times, and that thing runs freaking killer.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hardly idle there towards the end. It would die. It was just like it was loading up and dying.
So what was it, a weak spark?
Yeah,
When they go bad, they just weak spark?
Yeah, and it wasn't. It actually wasn't firing every time it was supposed to. It was. So it's set up as a dual fire or a
Single
fire. So it was trying to misfire, but yet it wasn't misfiring bad enough that you could hear it. You could feel it, but you couldn't hear it.
Huh.
It was. Yeah, nothing was making sense because it was just like, it was so crazy how it was staying rich, even though I'm pulling so much fuel out of it, it shouldn't even run.
Right.
I've never had that happen. That was a first time experience. I'm glad it happened to me and not a customer or something like that, and I'm glad I made it back home with it because looking at it now, it's like that could have really went south.
Yeah.
Real quick.
What do you guys think of those 2000i ignitions now?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's my favorite one.
Yeah. I never used them.
Those things are just like, that's like a standard, everyone runs them, man.
Yeah,
they're great.
You would think we would have before, but we've got some pretty good friends with S&S and that we've built through the years, so we kind of tried to stick with that, and it's like, support those people that support you.
Yeah.
But then it's also like, okay, I'm still buying it. It's not like they're giving it to me.
Right.
And when I, say we're going to build one for a customer, it's really hard to say, hey, this thing's $350, or I can get you this one for $180.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what I do, I even keep a one on the shelf at my house, just brand new in the box.
That's
If I'm
us now.
I keep a few things on the shelf, and they're all labeled. If I'm on a road trip and something breaks, I just make a phone call. Hey, you got next day something to me.
right.
Go to the basement. This box. That's it.
I never.
But those 2000i ignitions, that's one of those things. For $180, I throw it on the shelf, man.
Yeah.
I could be in the middle of nowhere and just need that thing.
So, like, when we took off, I was the only one with an open primary. So what do? I take a primary belt. Never had a problem, unless you catch a rock or something, probably not. But now, knowing what I do, one of those ignitions is going with us.
Yeah.
In our, because we were.
Yeah, some guys carry them with them.
We will on those kind of trips now.
Yeah.
Because every bike that either we have rode out there or will ride out there is going to
have that ignition.
Yeah, it's have that ignition in it.
Yeah.
So why not have at least one?
Yep.
Because there's at least going to be 2 or 3 of us riding.
Yeah.
So if I don't have a problem, he might, and if he
Right.
don't,
Yeah, only one guy needs to carry.
exactly.
One,
Yeah, and that's.
It sounds like it's
Learn
going to
as
be
you
the heavy box.
Yeah.
Now we'll put that in somebody else's box.
Yeah,
We're gonna
exactly.
equal it out.
Exactly. I've got a buddy that he had never been out before. He had never been on a trip more than 100 120 miles, 150 miles at a time. And so he went with us. Well,
what was he riding on?
He was on
what was that third bike?
96 Softail
Okay.
that we had bought sight unseen while we were in Daytona earlier that year. You know, because that's always a smart move. You know, buy it. Don't even look at it first. Just tell them you'll buy it. Go ahead and buy it.
We're coming back from Daytona. Guy calls on the phone and says, "Hey, man, such and such got this bike for sale. This is what he wants for it."
Yeah.
He tells us a price. Well, naturally, me being part Jew is like, tell him we'll give him this much.
Always. Never pay the asking price, man.
Said,
Never.
Unless it's too good, though.
Was it too much, really?
No.
It was a good deal
No.
Okay.
to start with. It really was. Because
Okay.
me and him looked at each other as we're riding down the road, and he's going, it's like, actually, that's a good deal. So, but it only knocked off, what, like a couple $100 or something other?
Yeah, I want to say maybe $200 or $300.
Yeah. And then he said, yeah, he'll take it. All right. As soon as we get back to Sweetwater, man, I'll get him some cash. So that's kind of how that happened.
So there is kind of a short funny thing about that bike. So we knew when we bought it, the charging system was smoked.
Yep.
He had bought a charging system for it. Never put it in.
Yeah.
Carburetor needed some work, had some issues. Instead of just fixing the carburetor, he had bought another one. It already had an S&S Super E on it.
Right.
So it's like, okay, it's got good parts. But they said, there's something wrong with the transmission. We don't know. It shifts okay sometimes, and sometimes it don't. It doesn't make weird noises. And we're like, okay, big deal. It can't be that many things, you know.
Yeah.
So we go to get it, and they had charged the battery up for us. We're just like, we're just going to ride it home, because it was in the same town that we live in. So it only had to go 5 miles, maybe.
At max.
It was like, that's plenty enough on a good hot battery. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
He rides it to his house. We didn't take it to the shop immediately. It was right in the middle of our busy time. I mean, we just went to Daytona, so we're in March. We're wide open. So it's like, just save some room, shop, takes it to his house. Then we decide, like, with a buddy, he's going to buy it. He's going to build him a bike. He'd never had a Harley before. So never even rode one. But that's what he wanted. He wanted a custom Harley. So, but he doesn't have the means or the know-how to do something full-blown crazy.
Okay.
You know, he's got 2 kids, all this other stuff, so you got to keep it simple, right? But his wife loves to ride, so he had to make it 2 up. So we rip it apart, but we wanted to keep the transmission. Had a polished transmission.
Had a polished transmission in this bike?
Yes.
Wow.
So
okay.
polished housing and everything, you know, it was beautiful. It
gets better.
Yeah, it was still well maintained as far as that's concerned.
Was the rest of the bike a pretty normal bike?
Yeah, it was just a basic.
That's an
Softail.
oddball part to just have sitting in a normal bike.
It is, and it threw us for a loop too. So somebody had been in this thing before, you know.
Right.
We don't know why.
Right.
We don't know what happened to the original transmission. And I have a good feeling of what happened to it, seeing as what happened to this last one that was in it. So we were like, we're keeping that. You can buy the bike, but we're keeping that part. I have another transmission. It's painted housing. We'll drop it right back in there. No big deal. So that's what we do. We decided we're going to use that transmission. It had no oil in it. We go to drain it. So
it was just empty.
There's no oil. But there is so much metal shavings that if you was to melt it down, you could probably make one of the gears that should have been in there.
The shafts are golden.
Both main input and output.
So it was just, regardless, it was wasted.
Yes.
Junk transmission.
Yeah.
The case was good.
Right.
Everything on the internal side
was smoked.
Was gone.
Really?
It was like, oh my God, why did we even keep this piece of?
Yeah.
You know.
And now it's all put back together, and it's in his bike. It's in BC Moto.
Oh, no shit. That bike?
That's the transmission.
Oh, that transmission.
Yeah, that's the transmission.
Yeah.
Okay.
So step back, I guess. He rides, we put that bike together. He rides out there with us. Well, the super fortunate thing that we had was he had to keep it 2 up, right? So we take and strap another bag behind him that's we were carrying a front and rear tube, spark plugs. I've got a primary belt strapped to it. I've got the socket that takes the nut off.
Tools.
Like every kind of tool you can think of.
You talking about the transmission, the super socket, that Jim's super tool?
No. For the front pulley, because like you could leave the
Okay.
clutch on and change a primary belt, but you
have
to
to pull the front.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't think I'll ever find anybody that has the right size socket, but I can find somebody that's got an impact.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what I say too.
Yeah, it's easy to find an impact compared to finding this oddball size socket. You know?
Yeah.
So we just strapped everything on the back of his. We probably put 100 pounds on the back of his bike. It's like he's carrying around another person, because we could, we had that luxury. So that trip was insane, and it was the greatest time we've ever had in Sturgis, and probably the funnest time I've had on a motorcycle.
Damn.
Like it changed my perspective for sure.
It was 3 goofy ass guys. Headed on a long trip, and it was a lot of fun.
It was
a lot of fun.
We got rained on, we got burned up, we broke down.
Was it your first time in Sturgis?
No.
Okay.
No. So the first year we ever went, I think we're going on 7 or 8 now.
Oh,
years.
Wow.
I think we're going on 8 years now. The first year we went, we rode out.
Okay.
So the funny thing about that is we rode out. So now looking at us, we don't do baggers. That's not our thing for us. We'll do them for customers, but for us, I don't want one. Don't need one, for that matter. And
don't get me wrong, I own a bagger.
He still owns one,
but it's
up for sale. It is actually up for sale. So the first year we went out, he rode the bike that's sitting next to you.
Okay.
That bike went, and I rode his brand new Road Glide.
Okay.
That he had bought earlier that year. And then we rode out the first year, because it was kind of like, we feel like that's mandatory in a sense. I don't know why. I'm sure that's some weird thought process.
Well, I think personally, there's certain things that everyone should do at least once in motorcycles, kind of, sort of.
Yep.
Riding to Sturgis is one of those things.
Yeah.
If you're going to trailer, you're going to do whatever, everyone's situation's different. Whatever, man. Right. I'm not the angry 25-year-old that I once was. I'm not going to get mad at you. But
I understand that. Yeah. No, we've encountered those guys.
So I don't judge people anymore. But if you're gonna be like going to these events and shit, riding to and from Sturgis is something you should do at least one time.
One time, yeah.
Going to EDR. I don't know if you guys ever went.
No. I know.
But with the EDR thing, what I tell people is, if you go to EDR at least one time, you should fucking camp there on the beach. Just one time.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever you're gonna do, at least stay on that beach one time. Right. It's like, that's what I think. Just to get the experience.
Yeah, I want to do EDR so bad, and what's funny is I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, but I also
you kind of do.
Yeah, and I don't have a choice sometimes. This is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
But so that also is a handicap, because then you want to break from it.
Yeah.
So for years I didn't even know about EDR.
Really?
As strange as that sounds.
Oh, man.
Like, I can tell you some of the weirdest facts in the world about the chopper industry and the history of it. I didn't even know EDR was like a thing until like 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had a buddy who was like, we need to go do this. And I'm like, what is this? What are you talking about? And he's like, no, just look it up. We got to go do it one day. And I'm like, okay. And I looked it up, and I'm like, we have to go do this.
Yeah.
So that same friend, we're building 2 bikes for him and his wife. So when they're done, I'm pretty sure they're going to twist our arm to finally go do it.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it looks like it would be so much fun.
Yeah.
So it's just riding choppers in general, especially other people that's doing it the same way.
Yeah.
That's when it's cool.
If you do it, I'll swing through Nashville or East Tennessee.
Right. Heck
we'll just keep rolling.
That's what I was going to say. Link up and just go.
Yeah.
Oh,
for sure, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling you about this panhead trip. Like, maybe we'll just bring some panheads down there.
Hey, I'm down, because I guarantee you, if we get to go, especially for me, I'm either going to be on the pan that I rode to Sturgis last year, or I'll be on a shovelhead.
Cool.
So one of the two will be happening.
Perfect.
That's the way.
So let me ask you, if you haven't heard of EDR until recently, were you big into the magazines when you were younger?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a child of magazines, and I say that because everything is so digital.
Okay.
Like, everybody knows, like, there's more of that content.
It's all digital now.
It is.
It's like there's like 3 magazines left.
Yeah. And I was the kid when I was growing up. The horse to me was like the crown jewel, and that sounds hilarious because most people would think it's Easy Riders or Hot Bike at the time or whatever. I didn't look at that stuff as much because I always knew, I felt at that point that was unattainable. I wanted to look at something I thought I could do.
Right.
Or that I, would ride.
Right.
I never looked at the fat tire stuff or anything like that and went, that's what I want, is a 280 rear tire and crazy stretch. I'm not tall. I can't reach some of that stuff. You know,
Right.
like I don't want that.
No, at 16, he's going, man, Dad, I want a foot clutch and
Yeah.
a jockey shift and
And I did it.
And just like, hell no, you get killed on this shit, son. It's like-
Yep.
and then that's what he does.
Yeah. So I ended up foot clutch jockey shift. You know,
So before
and I-
you got into bikes, what bikes were you riding that like influenced you?
I'm gonna be
Did some of
honest
his
with
stuff
you.
influence you when you were younger?
When I was 5 years old, I started on a bike.
Yeah.
Rode bikes up until I got married, 21.
Yep.
And his mom was so dead set against bike, I stopped riding.
It was just a deal breaker for her.
It was a deal breaker for her. So I stopped riding, and I literally did not get on a bike until I was actually divorced.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I'll tell you-
I know that
It
sounds
is.
kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
that is no joke. It's like, is it the day or not the day? Like the week
Yeah.
that I got divorced.
Yeah.
No, it was you two that separated.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah,
separated,
yeah,
wasn't it?
you'd got it, and I'll tell you a funny story.
Just the minute you could step away,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm getting on a motorcycle again.
When I knew that was it,
Yeah.
that's like, you know what? I'm going back to my first passion.
And
I'm
it
going
was-
back to bikes.
And it
How
was,
long did it take after you got that first bike after you were separated there?
Oh gosh, not long.
Right.
Like, and it was like a Yamaha. I want to say it was like a 550 or 750,
750.
like a Maxim 750, I think it was.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
it's something to get started on. You
Yeah.
know, I'm brokering a joke. I mean, so it's just like it was available, and I wanted to ride.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
So-
And I get him with dirt bikes and everything else, and
I had the
It was on.
Crown Jewel mini bikes back in the
there's
day.
no looking back. It's on. I mean, if there was anything to do with any type of motorcycle on any TV show or a magazine or something, he's all about it. I mean, you know, what are you watching? I'm watching some kind of
Yeah.
biker build off.
Yeah.
Or
They were all on at the time.
Oh, it was
when we
great.
were kids, that was
Oh,
that
yeah.
was it.
that was it, man.
Yeah, I'm 35 now, so like in the, you know, if you step back to that 2000 era,
Yep.
man, it was like prime time.
That's
to
what
be-
influenced us.
It is.
We're only a few years apart, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and I mean, dude, I went nuts over that stuff. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy. I mean, I've always, you know, had motorcycles and stuff, but I didn't know like what was a chopper,
Right.
what was a this or that. And I know now there's bobbers, choppers, this, that, the other. There's 15 different names to call the same thing.
Right,
you know?
right.
And because I just say everything's a chopper unless it's a cafe racer or something of that nature. There is differences in those styles. It doesn't have to be a long bike to be a chopper. So
Right, right.
I always try to preface that in my mind, because you had to cut it up, do something crazy. That to me, you had to chop it.
Yeah.
Whether you stretched it or made it small,
Yep.
there was chopping involved. You
Yes.
know.
Yes.
But yeah, so like when the TV shows and stuff were happening, man, like I thought Jesse James was the coolest person on earth.
I still hold them up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
some
still-
guys, you know, I hate on them or whatever,
Right.
but dude, I don't
I-
give a shit what you say. That
He's
that
great.
guy is always going to be an influence in my eyes,
Huge
and
influence.
a huge talent.
Yeah.
You know,
People
people might not like the guy, but he's fucking talented and he's influenced me.
Yeah,
So.
I'm not saying
I
I want to
like
go hang out on the weekends, but I wouldn't mind learning a few things. You
Right,
know,
right.
And you know, and I still, as funny as it sounds, and I'm sure I'm gonna get made fun of for this, I still go back and watch that stuff.
Yeah, I will occasionally. I will occasionally.
It's not like a weekly thing, but it's
I'll YouTube a clip here and there or whatever. You know.
Yeah, like especially if I'm struggling creatively,
Yeah.
like I hate to say it, we do it every day. So you do run into the wall every once in a while, and you're just like struggling with the simplest thing, or you're struggling with a way to do it. And I'll go back and watch it, and then I feel like I'm that 10, 11-year-old kid again
Yep.
that's sitting there going, "Oh man, I want to do that," you know,
Yeah.
thinking like, one of these days I'm gonna have a chopper. In the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going, "Will you though?"
Yeah.
Well, you was thinking choppers was cool when you was on bicycle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had a
Yeah.
chopper bicycle. We made a chopper
on the end of
bicycle.
forks to
Really?
extend it
Yeah.
out and everything. I
Yeah.
mean,
So.
it started at early age.
Oh yeah, it was, dude. That was when just magazines were a thing. That was for TV shows. He had an old mountain bike that he was no longer riding, and I'm like, he'd always told me like how they would take like swing sets and take these Schwinn's and cut the forks and drive the legs of a swing set up on there. And you can Google pictures of this kind of stuff too. And I didn't know what that looked like. So now I do, but I was like, what? You did what? And they're stretching them out real long, you know? And I'm like, I got to do this. So he has an old mountain bike. It's just a Walmart, nothing fancy, you know, thing. So what do? I don't want to cut up my good bicycle because that's the one that I'm going to be out jumping ramps.
You can't cut your daily rider up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, look, man, you still got to have this to get back and forth every day, okay? You know, that's like what we do now. You know, you don't. You always want to have one good vehicle that you didn't mess with.
Right.
Man, yeah, I cut the forks in half, and it was actually a like chain link fence, like that galvanized like, tube.
Yeah, that shit'll probably give you like lung cancer.
I can promise you
when you're welding that galvanized, you know?
Yeah, and I just look at it now and go, maybe it won't because I was really young. Maybe.
Yeah. Technically, back in my day, they wasn't welded on.
They were just hammered
You just
together.
take a freaking hammer and drive it up on there.
Can you imagine?
And now, I have seen a few of them when you're trying to ride a wheelie on it. Yeah, the wheels fell off before, but you know, hey, you get smart enough to drive it on there a little bit farther, and you know, keep your fingers crossed that shit don't fall off. It's trying to go.
So yeah, it's always, I guess, been a thing for me.
So you said when you got divorced, you bought this Yamaha.
Yeah.
How old are you at the time?
I'm 10, 11 years old. I had said I'm not 100% sure of the year. That's always been fuzzy to me. That was a very
That's not your responsibility to remember the year.
Yeah, it was a very chaotic time. Very chaotic time in my life. So I was like 10 or 11 years old. But the funny story about that bike is, and how that situation was, is like I didn't know this was happening. You know, you're a kid. They're not telling you everything. Like, you're not supposed to tell your kids everything. Right. And you're especially not supposed to tell them before it happens, right? So they didn't. They were so good about that. They kept me, you know, kind of in the background, like made sure I was good. Yeah. And then it was like, tell me when they had to. Okay. That this was happening. So I'm staying with my aunt at the time. It's in the middle of summer, so going back to like, you don't know you're poor until you get older. Yeah, we were talking about this last night. Yeah, so like we didn't know, but so it was like whoever would babysit for free or the least amount, that's where you were staying. Right. It didn't matter if it was a family member, somebody down the street, whatever it was. It was just like, make sure they stay alive until I get off work.
What's convenient? That's the way you look at that one.
So I was staying with my aunt that summer, you know, through the day while they were at work, and my mom always come and got me because where she worked at, she'd come right by there. And time come for her to get there. She didn't get there, and my aunt goes, hey, your dad's going to come get you today. I'm like, that's weird. All right, cool. You know, and I was like, that's cool with me. And he shows up on that bike to pick me up from her house.
And you never knew about the bike either.
No.
This is the first time
I'm finding out about the bike, and this is one of the probably the few times he'd ever come and got me because he always had to work later. You know, so he worked a lot later in the evening than she did. So it was rare. I mean, super rare that he would come get me. So I was like, oh, that's okay. And then he shows up on a bike, and I'm like, this is awesome. Best day ever. Until we get home, then I find out what's going on, you know, because he sits down and talks, and I'm like, this is the worst day of my life. But, you know, now it's like, it'd be weird if they were together. So, you know, and I probably wouldn't be doing this. So, it's like, okay, it's a good thing in my life now. Yeah. But yeah, that bike started a lot of stuff.
Did that bike wind up getting chopped up?
No.
Or customized at all?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'd done was wound up buying another bike that was way more dependable because at that time I was just trying to, the weekends that he would go to his mom's, I'm putting as many miles on a bike as I could put on it. Okay. So it wound up trying to put this one bike in as many states as I could on weekends. Okay. So I wound up buying another bike, and here's my whole thought process. My brother-in-law was like, man, I'd like to have a bike. I'd ride if I had a bike. I'd ride if I had a bike. So it's like, all right, man, if you'll ride with me, you can have this bike. So he gets the bike, keeps it maybe a couple of weeks, something like that, and then he sells it. So, you know, it worked out really good, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know.
What was the other bike you bought?
98 Honda Shadow.
Okay.
Yeah.
750.
Okay.
750. And I ended up with that bike
Okay. As your first bike.
as my first bike.
That was his first
16
bike.
15 or 16 years old.
Did that bike get the axe?
That bike got, okay, so that was my first foot clutch bike, if that tells you anything.
Okay.
A 750 Honda Shadow.
Yes.
Foot clutch jockey shift.
All right.
Yes. And two, for all the people that always talk about losing 10 millimeter sockets, I cut one up to make a clutch cable holder. I notched it and welded it to a piece so that I could actually make my foot clutch work. Like, I'm just trying to use anything. I'd say it's probably his, because I probably didn't have one at the time, you know. So,
Yeah.
So if you ever go missing one, somebody may be using it.
This was my only thing that I told him. Okay, because he had no car license at that time. All he had was a motorcycle license because he wouldn't go get his freaking car license.
You told me this last night, and I didn't know you could do that in Tennessee. You could just get a
Tennessee-
motorcycle
Tennessee,
license.
you can do it at 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So he had his motorcycle license, but this was my thing. It's like, you know what? I've really come to the realization that you have to make things your own. No matter what, you have to make things your own. So it's like, look, dude, this is the only transportation you have that you can get around on.
Yeah. Don't fuck it up.
Just keep that in mind, okay? I said, whatever you do, keep it in mind.
Yeah.
This is what you're freaking riding on.
Yeah.
Now, if it's raining, that kind of thing, then there's other transportation.
Yeah.
But on nice days,
They didn't really have to be
I'm
that
working.
nice.
Yeah.
So don't think I'm just gonna jump off from work and go run you here and there, you know.
Yeah.
Ain't happening.
You know,
So that was my only rule.
what's funny about that rule is I think, you know, like when you're told not to do something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Guess what
obviously.
happens?
Tell a 16-year-old kid what
So-
not to do.
Oh, I don't think I've really
He's
got.
doing that immediately. He's doing that.
I don't think I've got past that yet. 20 years later, I'm pretty sure I'm still that same guy because, I mean, so that was his thing then, and he was really, really strict about that, and I was really, really not listening.
He would not listen.
So
Hell, I might as well just tell him, just go out there in the garage, cut this bitch in half. Don't matter.
yeah, exactly. It would have probably been better because I'd have been like, huh, could I? And then it would have probably given me at least 6 more months of me thinking about how I could pull it off. And that was like, so, you know, I'm riding this thing to high school every day and thought, you know, here I am, I'm 16 years old. I've got a bike. Look how cool I am. Well, how much cooler could you be? You could be way cooler. Build a set of pipes. Never done it. I knew how to weld. You know, he had taught me how to weld when I was a lot younger. And, you know, but I don't know how to make exhaust. I don't even have a bender. Wait, do I have to have a bender? Do I have to have a bender? No. I just have to have enough ingenuity
to cut some sections up.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I have a bunch of bends right here. Look at these stock pipes that I can cut up. Not having anything else to put back on this thing. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And it worked out, thank God, because if not, I would have been totally screwed. But that bike went through, I was hard on that bike, just like trying to learn how to make stuff. I made rigid struts for it. Made my first set of pipes. I made it foot clutch jockey shift. I did everything I felt like I was even remotely possibly able to figure out. Not capable of, just figuring out.
Right.
And that's where it really, really started. And the funny thing about that bike is I ended up years and years later, I got rid of it. And, you know, being dumb teenager, making bad decisions, that became the only thing I had as transportation. So guess what? I had to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I got rid of it, and I was like, oh, that was kind of sad. Years go by, I ended up with another one. And I built that bike as my first frame, full custom bike. That was my first. The next one I ended up with. So what I started on and what started really getting heavy into the full build stuff was the same bikes. I didn't start with a Harley at all or a Sportster. You know, a lot of people's now Sportsters.
There's a pretty good story behind that one too. That's how you wound up with it.
Yeah, I bought it with change.
Your first Sportster or the second Honda?
The second Honda. I bought it with change.
You like
Literally.
loose change,
Loose
just
Pocket
Yeah.
change.
Yep.
jingling a
That's why-
sack of change.
That's why its name is pocket
So
change.
the bike's named is Pocket Change, and it's you know, pinstriped on
Worked
the
with a
tank.
guy.
Why did you do that?
Worked with a guy that he comes to me and says, "Hey man, I got this bike, needs all this done to it." La da da da. Well, he worked for a guy that sold motorcycle parts.
Yeah.
That's all
That's
he
what
was
I done.
doing at that time.
Yep.
And so I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, my son can get these parts." I said, "I'll have him get a price on these parts that you're going to need to fix it."
He didn't
said,
want to
"Yeah,
buy
be great, be great." So I tell him, he gets a part list, you know, gets a price on all of it and everything. So I go back to the guy and I tell him, he goes, "I can't afford that."
And
He said, "I guess I might well just go ahead and get rid of it." Now, literally,
it was like $250
yeah.
worth of parts.
And he's like, I can't afford that. And it's like, what kind of bad shape do you have to be in not to be able to afford this? But anyway, he said, "I'm just going to sell the bike."
Yeah.
I said, "Do you have a title?" And he goes, "Yeah, I got a title for it." I said, "All right.
Yeah.
What do you want for it?" He said, "What would you give?" I said, No, I don't price them and buy them too. I said, "You tell me what you want and we'll go from there." So later on the day, he calls me, or he comes back by and he says, "Hey man, would you give this much for it?" I said, "I won't." I said, "But I'm gonna call my son and see if he wants it." So I called him and he goes, "I think I have that much in pocket change."
So
And
you
I
come
said-
home, dump your change out into a jar or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, like get, you know.
I said,
Yeah.
"So is
I've
that
had
a
it.
yes or a no?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll buy it for that." I said, "All right." So I go back and tell the guy. He says, "Yeah, it's yours."
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't that much. It wasn't like I had like $3,000 worth of change, you know.
I
in a
was just
jar.
gonna ask, was it under
It was-
$1,000?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was
Okay.
$800.
It was,
It was 800
okay.
bucks. I'll say it.
Okay.
he's not one to give that information on
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
800 bucks, and I was. And what's
Damn.
funny is I think I had like 1,200 bucks or something like that because I had the money. So the parts that it needed, so I had enough money to buy it and fix it and then ride it.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then cut it all to pieces, literally.
Perfect.
Yeah. So.
Oh, know what I wanted to ask too? This whole time, like
Yeah.
once you got back into bikes, you started chopping up these
Yep.
bikes.
Yep.
Were you already doing cars? Were you into cars already?
Yeah.
Did the
Lord.
ex-wife let you play with cars?
No.
I've been into cars ever since I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my parents' nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I was bringing, when I was a kid, I was bringing motorcycles home in boxes. Okay. I'm a poor kid. I ain't got no money. I'm mowing yards. Okay. $5 at that time would get your yard mowed.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I mow yards and stuff, and people's like, "Hey man, I got this old dirt bike. You want it?" Well, sure. They'd tell me a price. I'd go over. Milk crates were a big thing back then.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So you go over 2 or 3 milk crates in a frame, and my mom and dad literally hated it. But bring them home, put them together, ride them for, I mean, back then there's a place, we called it the mining cuts, and most of them were dirt bikes and stuff. So get them together so you go climb the hills in the mining cuts and stuff. And most of the time, I'd be able to ride them like a couple times, and somebody would, "Hey man, what do you want for that bike? What do you want for it?" So
Right.
I'd sell it, get another one. It was just just a continuous cycle. Well, then I got old enough to get a car. My first car was like $300.
Oh no shit.
Come dragging 68 Chevelle.
For $300?
I know, isn't that crazy to think though?
Now,
Oh
here's-
my God.
Here's the
I
thing
know.
about it now. Hold on.
What year was this?
Huh?
What year was this?
Well, you know,
64,
it's been back
70s?
No, it's in the 80s.
Okay.
Just right at the
Wow.
Yeah,
Even
it had to
then,
be
that
like-
was super
it had-
cheap.
It had to be like 80, 81 then.
80s. Yeah.
Around that time.
So what the deal was,
Wow.
there was a little junkyard
crazy.
down from us. I could go buy an like a Super Sport hood, $5. You could get doors, $5. So
What?
here I am. My
It's
mom
so
and them would
crazy.
not let me
Oh.
park these cars in the front yard. They had to be behind the house where nobody could see them. You know, so I wound up, I would bring them home, fix them, paint them, you know, and I'd keep them maybe I think the longest one I probably ever kept would be like 4 or 5 months, and somebody'd want to buy it. So I would sell it, wind up buying another one, and just continue the roll, you know. But basically, once again, once you get married, all of a sudden you're broke, and so all that kind of stopped. But you know, here we are now, doing what we're doing.
Well, and to elaborate, there's like, he leaves out a huge chunk of this though, is so they split, he gets back into bikes, right?
Right.
They were together, he didn't have motorcycles, he wasn't doing cars, any of that. Well, so they split up, he gets a motorcycle. Well, where we're at, we used to have a place that literally no one knew about, but everybody in the country showed up to use. And it was Upper Tellico is what it was called. So it was all off-road stuff.
Okay.
So he gets a Jeep, goes and gets an 87 Wrangler. Starts going up there, kind of riding some of the trails, and it had 31-inch tires on it. Then it's like, oh, we need to be a little bit bigger. Puts 4-inch lift, 33s, okay, and does that for about a year. Then it's like, okay, we need to do a little bit more, and we're going to swap the motor and stuff. Swap the motor, go, you know, AMC 360, do bigger axles, and go to 35s. Okay, this is it, I'm done. This is where I learned how to weld. Okay, so if this prefaces anything for you, when I tell you I learned how to weld when I was young, during this process of him building this Jeep up to go play on these trails in the mountains, I'm learning how to like use a torch, learn how to weld, learn kind of how to just make stuff work that's not supposed to.
Right.
You know, and then it ends up with 2.5-ton military axles under it, out of a deuce and a half, with 44-inch boggers, and going all over the place to go play with this Jeep. So his foray back into cars was not really into the hot rod side.
Okay.
Was into the off-road side. And then, so I'm hooked because, well, this is cool. It's like, you know,
yeah,
it's a giant rock crawler. Who doesn't want to go drive this? And so that got him back into that. Well, it kind of around the time that he's doing that, I'm finally driving, you know, like,
right.
And I'd already ruined my first car. I sunk it in a mud hole. Not even gonna lie.
Here's the conversation.
This
is literally the conversation before you leave. Like, hey, Dad, me and such is gonna go out to the lake.
Yeah.
I said, hey, man, whatever you do, just remember,
you have to drive.
This is your only mode of transportation. Okay.
Right. Once again. Just remember this.
Don't screw this up. But I said, do yourself a favor. So what's that? I said, get those straps out of the Jeep, because I already knew what he was going to do. I knew it.
It was terrible. God.
So he gets the straps out of the Jeep.
You sunk that fucker in a lake?
Man,
no.
It might as well have been.
It might as well have been.
It was next to the lake, but it might as well.
Hey, this Jeep.
It was a Grand Wagoneer.
Okay.
It's on 35s.
Yeah.
And it's up there. I mean, it's up there.
Wood panel?
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was dark blue with the wood grain.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
My dad had one of those.
Power windows, power seats, like.
Yeah, it was actually a nice ride.
They were really nice in their day.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
okay.
I wish I saw
it. This had actually been taken care of and was a pretty nice vehicle.
Yep.
So anyway, I'm sitting there at the house and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not going anywhere, because as before, anyway. I was like, I'm not going anywhere because I know what's going to happen. I literally know what's going to happen. So I'm sitting there, about an hour and a half later?
Yeah.
Hour and a half later, he calls me and goes, hey, Dad, man. I don't know how to tell you this, but you think you come here and pull my Jeep out of this hole? I already knew where he was at. I already knew.
Yeah, so I managed to bury this thing up about halfway up the door in water.
Oh my God.
So ruined motor, transmission, everything.
The whole 9 yards. They got it all.
I didn't just get a piece. I got the whole thing. But then, so I went from that, and he was never into like the lowrider stuff or anything. But I was a kid that looked at everything with choppers and everything with lowriders, hydraulics, air ride, anything, mini trucks and lowriders. So what do you do next? You go try to build a mini truck at 17, 18 years old.
Did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it took a little while. It was a learning curve of ruining stuff, you know. And so now I've got bagged and bodied Ranger. That's a shop that I got to finish. We both have rock crawlers. We build choppers. He's building a truck that's going to be laid out with a 512 cubic inch motor in it.
Damn.
Yeah, like, there's no end to what we.
What truck?
2004 Dodge 1500.
Yeah,
Really?
just a single. Yeah, it's
Single
a
cab.
standard cab.
And is it going to be carbureted? Like an old school big block?
We don't know yet. It is an old school big block. It's a 77 model block. Is what it
Okay.
started out as.
But
So
that's the block is all that's 77.
Yeah.
Everything else is aluminum.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Damn.
it's legit.
it's been board and stroke. We have a local
It's
guy.
like a proper hot rod engine. Proper, like something you drop in a muscle car.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like,
Actually,
it's ridiculous.
there's most hot rods don't have that big of a motor in
Yeah.
it.
Right. Yeah, that's.
It's just something stupid. I don't know why, but it's like, we were sitting there at the shop one day and I said, I'm going to fix it on truck. I said, I got to fix it because I like it. I mean,
Right.
I drove it for a long time and it's just, I don't know, it's me. I mean, it's lowered, but yet it's not on air, but now it's going to be. It's
Yeah.
going to be, laid out.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, it's like, I think I'm going to put a 440 in it.
Yeah.
And then it went from that to, okay, so I found a 440 that was actually in an RV. The way these guys got this motor out is like, oh my God. But that's a whole different story. But anyway, so I bring it back to the shop, and first I was just going to freshen it up. That'll be good enough, just going to freshen it up. And then it went from that to full on, all I'm going to keep's the block and everything else is going to be done.
Yeah.
So,
We have a local guy. I went to school, me and his son went to school together, and he's retired Navy. He was a Navy Master Chief, actually, and he worked on jets.
Okay.
So he was always on aircraft carrier. Well, for whatever reason, they are 100% through and through Dodge people. And so we talked to him about it. And
It could be worse. They could be Ford people.
well, his
Hey,
son, his son drag race.
I knew that would get you.
man, just don't hate on the Ranger, okay?
His son drag races.
Yeah.
And that, the 440 is what he's got in his car.
Okay.
And it's, oh my God,
Yeah.
it is bad.
Yeah.
And it's a Coronet. Like, how many of those do you see that are drag cars?
Yeah,
So-
that's cool as shit.
So they're oddballs like us
Yeah.
that'll do stuff. So we talked to him about it.
I said, hey, here's the deal. Build this one like your son's car.
yeah.
And he said, exactly like it. I said, all the internals and everything, just like it. I don't care. Just whatever they are, put it in it, let me know.
Except for no nitrous. That was the only other thing. 'Cause
That's
they
the
ran
only
nitrous
thing
on
I
that
didn't
one.
want to do.
So it's like,
so
whatever you
it's not a low compression.
Right.
And,
Probably a little different cam. Like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
set up for naturally aspirated.
yeah,
Right.
and pump gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
right. Pump gas. Theirs is race gas.
Yeah,
It's a proper
and
race
his
car.
can go either way, depending on head gaskets. That's all
Okay.
you have to change.
Right.
So he wound on the knee. I said, okay, when you taking the block? So he takes the block home, and not very long after that, the motor's sitting back at the shop. Now it's back on me to get it in the truck. So,
nice.
That's one of those things of like knowing your limitations.
Yeah.
And it's like, here, you guys have done this.
Yeah.
Because they're such odd motors too. Like, it's not like you can run down to like an auto parts store and be like, hey, I want 30 over pistons. And then you get, really, where do
Yeah.
you even order this stuff? There's like a handful of places maybe.
Even in
Hardcore.
terms of, I would say, reading material or any sort of literature, even on the internet, it's so much more limited. Whereas if you want to build a big block or a small block Chevy or an LS engine now, it's like
Kyle
you
Buddy,
could
they
trip
probably
over
have
that puddle and fucking hit your head on a book about that.
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Ford and Chevrolet stuff is pretty easy to come by.
Yeah, or a small block Ford, like,
but I will say what's
you know,
worse.
you can figure out where to build that in that tent. You know?
Yeah, exactly,
You know,
yeah.
I
like-
will say this. The 440 was a whole lot better than the AMC 360.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he has a tendency to find these weird kind of.
I was on the first Jeep that we built.
Right.
It's like, I want to keep it all AMC. for some stupid reason. Everybody's putting Chevrolet motors in them, Ford motors in them, and everything. It's like, no, I don't want that. I want mine to be different.
Yeah, yeah.
So I decided I'm going to put this 360 AMC motor in mine. Oh, at least $10,000 later,
And it
I
was
was like,
basically
man,
stock.
this is the dumbest move I've ever done in my life.
You know, that much money and it's still basically stock.
Really?
Yeah. Would if it had been a Chevrolet or even a Ford motor?
Yeah.
$10,000, you got a pretty hot little.
Dude, even a 318 Dodge, you know,
Right,
like
yeah.
you could hot rod those pretty good too.
Yep. Yeah.
You could.
318, 360.
But it technically wasn't the AMC, so you know.
Yeah, it's. Yeah,
It was just. Sometimes stupid is as stupid does. You know?
Right.
You learn later.
We do believe in that, keeping it like the same brand, you know, because Chevrolet motors are used in everything. A 350 is literally probably been put in some shape, form, or fashion into every.
I'm sure there's
vehicle.
probably a Prius somewhere running around with a
Yeah,
I'm
350
sure there
in it.
is. Yeah, or an LS. Or,
Dude, there's a damn igloo cooler with a small block Chevy in it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's like, well, that's not fun, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not like we don't feel like that's right. And
I don't know.
now
It's just technically, in my eyes,
it's almost
not
like the
as
easy
cool.
route. You
It
guys
is.
look at it as the easy
It
way
is.
out.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will say this: we both have, you know, Jeeps now, as rock crawlers. If my motor lets go, I am not looking for an AMC motor or even a Dodge motor. I will throw a 302 or a 350 or something in it.
Right.
I am not spending that kind of money.
Dude, guys are doing these rock crawlers now with LS engines, fuel injected, so they're not even worried about them carburetors at the angles or anything, man. Like,
Yeah, that's, and you know, if say we were to, I hope I don't have to do that anytime soon.
Well, here's the thing.
it's so cheap now, though. You can do that with junkyard parts now.
Yeah, it
super
is.
cheap.
It is.
We've
I just
got
don't
so
wanna
many
have to
things
do it.
going on now.
Yeah,
We just don't really have the time to. I mean, because that's a hobby. That's not. Well, technically, it is our lifestyle, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just they don't make money.
Yeah.
Right.
It spends
So-
money.
You guys target the motorcycle industry more to make the money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
that's it.
and there's a couple of factors to that, because I have a lot of people ask us about doing automotive stuff, and I don't mean like to build motors or anything like that. Like I tell people, like I'll do your suspension stuff, like 4-links, air ride, hydraulic setups, anything like that, or a lift and lower, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into a full rebuild. We're not restoring it for you. We're not.
You want to do like the more of the 1 or 2 day bolt-on jobs, that bread and butter kind of, like the equivalent of someone taking a motorcycle in and saying, I want an exhaust and a set of bars put on.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
Like
and-
that bread and butter stuff that really keeps the doors open.
That's the thing, is you have to have a decently quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And for 2 reasons. One, to get paid. You know, we got to keep the lights turned on.
yeah.
The second one is you run out of room so fast.
Well,
You can't house.
Yeah.
That's on the bigger stuff. Now, on Harleys and stuff, we do a lot of motor work.
Oh, well, we do full builds
literally.
too.
On bikes,
I'm
you
talking
guys
about
will do
on-
anything,
I said
though.
on the automotive.
Oh,
side.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
On the automotive
Yeah.
side.
It's one of those, literally automotive. If we can get it done the same day, we'll probably go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
You know, and
But if they're wanting, man, will you change my alternator, brakes? Will you do that? No, there's an automotive store downtown.
Yeah,
Just go down there and see those guys. That's what they're here for. You know? We're more on the suspension, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's more fun.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so.
So, speaking of that, not everyone's doing that. Like, when did the not everybody's doing that kind of bike work start for you guys?
You know, it actually.
That shit just don't happen overnight.
You know, okay, so for us, it happened because where we're from.
Okay.
So we live, you know, we're from Sweetwater, and 7,000 people, I think, or
Yeah.
give or take. I'm sure that's fluctuated since the last time they checked, but it's really small. It's tiny. I can give you directions how to get to us from anywhere and within 3 red lights.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's that small. And so you can probably guess how many people are doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you show up at a car show or anything going on, everybody's on something similar. Like they all look similar. Well, we show up and they don't look anything like that because we've been at home in this one car, you know, or car and a half garage
For too long.
doing this stuff, you know.
Staring at this shit.
So, and and I wanted it for myself, but I didn't know I could do it and try to make a living.
Yeah.
Notice I said try. So it was just one of those, I wanted to do it, but also needed to make money. So I worked for somebody else for 10 years and then was coming home doing this stuff. He retires early, and he's retired for about a year, and we're coming back from Sturgis. And he was like, look, man, I know you need to get away from what you're doing. You need to make that step. He's like, if you want to start a shop, right now's the time to do it. You have free help. Like, I'll be there every day that you're there, and more.
Right.
And we'll make this happen. And if you really, really want to do it, let's do it. And we kind of just took that leap of faith and prayed that it would work. And so far, it's going really well.
It's functioning.
And yeah.
It's functioning.
And it's so early. Like we're going. 4 years. We'll be coming around to 5 next year. Thankfully, it's been as good as it has been.
Yeah.
And everybody tells me, like, oh, if you can get through the first 5 years.
Right.
5 years. That's all you got to do. 5 years, and then it'll really take off. We're so busy right now that it's really hard for us to justify going anywhere. And it's really hard to get a whole bunch of stuff done because there's so many people to talk to all the time that are calling or coming in or needing a part or need this, need that. So we'll see what year 5 holds.
Is it just you two now?
Yeah.
So far? Yep. Okay.
He's the main mechanic, technically. I'm the part-time mechanic, as funny as that sounds. I have to deal with everybody, and he stays in the back.
Okay.
But that was the deal we made to start with.
Yeah.
That was literally the deal.
Dude, I fucking hate these twin cams, dude. I fucking hate them.
I do not know what's going on right now.
I can't fucking stand it. I'm sorry to interrupt your guys' story, but you want to hear my theory on these fucking assholes that do this shit?
Please, I'm intrigued.
This shit was never like this when it was panheads, shovelheads, Evos. Once twin cams came out, they had the ability, they had the rev limiter, and they're bulletproof enough to just sit there and fucking crank on them, and they don't explode.
That is a good point.
That's what started all this shit, is twin cams, dude.
That is a good point.
I'm telling you what, man.
I never thought of that.
Fuck, dude.
You know what pisses me off more than anything? Somebody will roll up the damn red light below the shop.
Yeah.
That's not carbureted.
Yeah.
So why are you sitting there? Why now?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to clean that fuel injection out before you take off.
I've
right?
actually,
That's it.
So we joke about it, and then had a guy come up one day, and I'm already frustrated, like whatever's going on at the shop, and he rolls in, and he's doing that, and you could tell it was a newer bike. I want to say it had to be a 14 and up bagger.
Yeah.
You could tell by just looking at it, and I was like, "Oh, you here to get that carb clean?" And he looks at me because he just kept revving it, and he just like looked at me, and he goes like, "What?" And he goes, "It's fuel injection." I was like, "I know, stop revving it." and I was just, like you catch somebody in one of those moments, and that's where I was at. I was in that moment of like,
yeah,
I can't deal with this right now. Like, and you're over here just like, what?
Standing there on the phone trying to talk to somebody, and they're sitting out there revving
in
it
the
up.
front door, just revving
why?
it.
Yeah.
Like,
oh God, it annoys the shit
so
out
annoying.
of me.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Nobody likes that shit.
They do.
No, yeah, they do. Yeah,
they do. Somebody likes it. That's what I always say. Like, we may not. Somebody does.
That's
like,
true.
It's pretty obvious right now. But yeah.
God.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my God, it fucking drives me insane.
Yep. I'm glad to know it's not just us.
Yeah. No, I'm man, I'm happy. More and more people are getting annoyed at that shit. I was talking to Buck this morning, and I said, man, first off, I just wanted to thank him for everything he does here.
Yep.
But I said, man, I don't know what you're doing here, but I haven't really been hearing these fucking people revving the engines like that. And I said, I just want to thank you. And he kind of like said, we kind of put it out there. And they've told a few people this weekend that they got to cut that shit out.
Right.
Like, nobody fucking wants to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, and here's, the other side of it is it's kind of like a lack of respect.
Yeah.
To sit
to
there
everyone
and do that,
around you, man.
I don't want to, like, if I'm sitting here, like, if we're hanging out right now, well, if I had a killer headache,
yeah,
I don't want the guy next to me
Yep.
You know, like holding his beer up in the air, screaming to his buddies while he's bouncing off rev limiter.
But there's one that pisses me off even more than that. The freaking radios.
Yeah, radios are terrible.
The bag of radios. Oh, this guy just pulls up.
Yeah, exactly.
But he
doesn't have his radio on.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, man. Pull up beside the shop. This damn thing is blaring like crazy.
Yeah.
And they'll leave it on for dang 10 minutes.
Yep.
I always
Take
like
the helmet off, the gloves off, this, that, and the other, put them all away, knowing they're going to get right back on this bike and put all this shit back on.
I really
listen to that 15 songs while they're doing it. You know, it's like, God bless.
I really like the older guys that are almost 60, and you can tell they're super country, and they pull up listening to like Master P or something. Some, weird, like, those I'm like, all right, it's kind of cool because I know you have no idea what that is, but you think somebody's going to think it's cool.
Yeah.
I love those guys. But.
Yeah. Well, it's true, man. I was at an event, it's probably like 2 years ago now, up in Maine. Like a lot of my friends up that'll listen to this, the Deadbeat Retreat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you've heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, I was there, and my girlfriend's friend at the time, she's here now, she had a fucking migraine and a half, dude. And she's laying down. It's like 2 in the morning, man. I happen to just get back there, and there's this fucking guy with this Sportster, like kind of where those kids are. They're pretty close. This fucking kid is just doing burnouts in the dirt, just burying this thing off the rev limiter at like 2 in the morning. And we're deep in the campground too. We're not on Main Street there.
Yeah.
Right.
Where if that shit's going on and I'm camping there, hey man, you're an idiot for camping there then. I'm not gonna ruin a party. But I'm like, dude, you're in the middle of nowhere and it's just you and your one idiot friend. I walked over there, I said, man, if you don't cut that shit out right now, there's gonna be a big fucking problem. I said, I got a girl in there with a fucking migraine headache. I said, there is gonna be a big fucking problem. He fired this bike up a few minutes later, and I didn't even wait a second. I did not even wait for him to put that motherfucker in gear. I turned that thing off. I said, I swear to fucking God, if this bike starts again, dude, this is it. There is no more warning.
Right.
But, dude, some people they just want to fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. I'm like, now that we're publicly saying this, I'm putting it out there, dude. Nobody thinks that shit's cool. Fucking nobody thinks it's cool, dude.
Not one.
Not one, man. And I'm almost thinking that the word is out because I haven't heard it much this weekend.
No.
Like, that shit's over, dude. The days of that shit are fucking done.
Or the days
it
are at
ain't
least
cool.
numbered, at least. Hopefully.
Right.
We're getting closely.
It's always going to kind of go on, but, like, dude, that shit's just not cool anymore.
Always got the new guys.
Yeah, you got the new guys that want to, like, show everybody their
Harley's still selling bikes.
Right.
So
Yeah, that is true.
That new guy.
That is true.
Right.
And then you got the guy in the Chevrolet van.
Doing a dirt burnout. So you know what? You never know what it's going to be.
You never know when it's going to erupt, man. You never know.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's cool though.
I mean, I've seen it happen on mini bikes this weekend too. So,
Right.
You know.
Oh, I don't mind the mini bikes, man.
Yeah, the mini bikes are a little.
It is what it is.
The mini bikes are just kind of built for that.
Dude, and you know what? Even with the mini bikes, or even the Harleys, I feel like there's almost a way of going about it. Sometimes
there is
here and there, you know.
It can be funny sometimes, and it can be very annoying.
Yeah.
It's like
you got to pick and choose when to do it.
Yeah, you got to kind of know. Hey, let's just face it, man. We know when you're fucking annoying, and we know when you're not.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. God damn, that pisses me off, dude.
That puts you in a bad place, though.
Yeah, we didn't mean.
Yeah. Oh no, it is what it is, man. Yeah. I don't know, dude. Just.
But other than that, it's a good time here.
Yeah.
We've had a good time. We've had a good time for sure.
Yeah, dude. So this is how many times have you guys been here?
This is our second year. So we missed last year. We were here in 21. Yeah. We were here then for BC Moto again. So.
Okay.
So yeah, it was different then. I feel like it's changed. It's evolved a little bit.
So I was talking to someone yesterday, and I wish I got this pro tip. Fucking 15 years ago. The first year an event ever happens, party it up, man. Because every year it changes a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. You know, this event's kind of stayed pretty much the same. But every event changes from year to year. It's always a little different.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
This time has been much better.
Yeah.
Better. Okay.
Yeah,
than it was the first year we came here.
I feel like there's more for this place. Like, okay, what you have going on, like in the main area, we'll say, like where the main stage and the invitationals at and all that. That's still kind of the same, but there's more events. There's like, you know, we were at the hill climbs earlier. You know, they're flat tracking. Now they're doing biker games. They didn't do biker games first year we were here. They didn't do a lot of stuff, you know, and that's just part of, do you have enough people to do it as far as the staff? Do you have the area to do it? All of that stuff obviously is gonna always evolve. This year I feel like, okay, yeah, you're gonna have your downtime. Speak of the devil. You're gonna have your downtime, you know, and that can be like whether you want it to happen, because sometimes it's nice to chill out and not do a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I kind of got a little like bored yesterday just with myself, you know, like middle of the day, you know, slump, and but then the nightlife, you know, everybody gets to hang out and talk and shoot the shit, and, you know, have some drinks.
Yeah, I'd be honest, man. This event is really this one and a couple others particularly. I just cannot come to complain about anything. Right. Because, and I've heard some people complaining, or some people are picky. Oh, they don't have ZZ Top this year. I'm like, dude, do you understand what it takes to make something like this go on?
It's a massive
It is
undertaking.
so impressive. It's so impressive to put something like this together.
Here's the deal. You can come to this place and have a good time, or you can come here and just complain the whole freaking time you're here.
Right.
You control your own destiny as to what you want to do.
Right.
I mean, there's nobody says you have to go listen to the bands all the time.
Right.
There's nobody says, hey, if that's the case, go float in the creek a while.
Right.
I mean,
and someone who's complaining like that, as far as I'm concerned, man, float to fucking Georgia and don't come back.
Yeah.
You know?
Like standing back there, I'm like, see ya.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you literally are in control of your own destiny as to whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So if you can't come here and have a good time, then guess what? You didn't come here wanting to have a good time.
Yeah. Right.
So, I know the rain put a little bit of a damper on it and everything, but technically it kind of helped me out because it made me sleep like a baby.
Right.
I mean, the rain hitting on the top of the roof and everything is like, oh yeah, man, this is cool. This is good. I mean, it's nice and cool, the whole 9 yards. So,
I think,
you know, we have a few mud holes and this, that, and the other, but oh well.
Yeah, it's, that's the only complaint I have is the rain.
Yeah.
For sure.
And quite honestly, man, it was, all considering, the rain was kind of as good as it could be because it started overnight and it ended at what, 10:30?
Yeah,
it's like
10:30.
It was a pretty convenient window.
It was, at least it wasn't all day.
It poured like hell though.
Oh, it did. Yeah,
I mean, it rained a lot.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, this place is fairly flooded.
But easily.
But it was a small window.
Right.
So it was cool, you know. But I don't want to keep dragging on here too long,
good.
but I don't know, man. You guys want to talk quick about that panhead that really caught my eye?
That was my dream bike. That's literally from the time I thought motorcycles were cool, I thought what I ended up building was the coolest thing to have. And it's you know, no upstretch, no outstretch, 30 degrees of rake with a Springer, and it's a rigid. So that stuff's super basic. But I always wanted a panhead, but I wanted one that I could ride anywhere. Well, having an original panhead and riding it anywhere doesn't really go together.
Yeah. It can be tough.
Yeah, so I did it with an S&S motor, and it's a S&S motor, Baker transmission, 6-4. And
I'm an idiot. I remember off the top of my head, I thought that was a 5-speed Softail style transmission.
No, that was not his. His shovel head is the Evo style.
Oh, okay. I got them mixed up.
Yeah, so that one's a Baker 6-4.
Okay.
Kick and electric both. It was kick only when I first built it. don't know if you've kicked a 93 cubic inch motor.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah,
Any
yeah,
kick
not a lot
bike
of
I
people
got,
do.
I'm like, dude, I want this thing to be like 9-to-1 compression,
Right.
regular old cam in it.
Yeah.
Like,
Not a
I don't
lot
want
of
to be kicking big bikes.
Not a lot of people do, and if they say I don't mind it, I go, sure you don't.
No, you got to be a big dude to
Yeah,
be
you
kicking
do.
a big bike.
And when I
You
first
do.
built it, I was like 165 pounds maybe
Yeah.
on a heavy day.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
165 pounds trying to kick this thing.
Yeah.
Is not happening. And I learned a lot of lessons along the way with that bike because it was really the first bike that I had to get every bolt, every nut, every washer.
Started from nothing,
Yeah,
from scratch.
yeah. It didn't start as an existing motorcycle before that.
Right.
So where you kind of have some stuff because you've dismantled something else and then cut it up. That's a whole different process, and I love that process and I hate that process. For me, I love it, but if a customer come to me and ask me to do that bike over again, there's no way. They would not have enough money to
Right.
talk me into it, just because of that. And really too, a lot of people don't know really what they want.
Right.
They just have an idea of it. But so me, I knew exactly what I wanted, no questions asked. So I did it and used the best stuff that I could afford, and it only took 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah, and
to
a
do.
gob ton of money.
Yeah, that's why it also took so
there
long.
there were some delays.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like come
It was-
home, work on
No,
it
no, no.
every evening and stuff like that.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was the cost.
Yeah.
It was like, well, you buy a motor. Well, now you're broke.
Right.
Now you got to save up to buy this.
And you weren't full time
broke.
yet, because you said you built that bike 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, that bike was finished. It was actually finished within the first 2 months of the shop being open.
Oh, okay.
It was already
Okay.
done, except for it wasn't painted. It hadn't been painted, wired, and reassembled.
Okay.
So it was technically done.
So it was
before
like
then.
what kicked off the shop.
Yeah, that's why, and two, that's why it is the colors that it is. So anybody that looks up, a picture of our building, it is those colors,
Right.
which are my favorite colors. So
Yeah.
that's why the shop is what it is, and that's why that bike is what it is. And two, the funny story about that bike is I told you everything gets a name. Don't know if you noticed it before. The name of that bike is American Nightmare.
Yeah.
So, I'm a huge
Well,
Rob
it says it
Zombie
on the
fan.
tank.
Yeah.
It's hard to
yeah.
miss.
One's on one side, one's on the other. So
Yeah.
everybody goes, oh, the Nightmare bike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan too. So, you just pulling stuff from that. But that's where the American Dream thing American Nightmare came from. But it was like, the beautiful thing about it is it's all American made, but it's a nightmare for the Harley guys.
Right.
Because they can't claim it because nothing on it came from Harley.
Right. Right.
Not a single piece of it, So that's where it came up with its name. So yeah, but that bike, I will probably be buried with that bike. That's how much I love it.
Okay.
And like I said, we rode it to Sturgis last year and back, and then depending on what happens next year, it may go back, with me as far as like getting rode again.
Right.
But I'm just gonna keep it and ride it and.
Well, you don't know what the future brings for next year, the year after, whatever
Yeah.
cool bike you want to bring.
Exactly.
But something tells me that that bike will make many more trips to Sturgis, one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be going back this year.
Yeah.
It also depends because you're going to finish up the shovel you got now.
Yeah, we'll just see.
But it's also your turn.
Yeah.
To build another bike.
So I'll be building a new bike here pretty soon. So
yeah,
a personal bike. So we'll see what that is. Who knows?
Right.
It could be anything from a Sportster to a shovel head to a pan.
Right.
I don't know yet. I have the ideas for what I want it to look like, but I don't know what I want to power it.
Okay.
So that's the first step for me, and then I figure out the other side later. So
okay.
Got some pretty crazy ideas.
You had said you got a CNC plasma table. Did you want to talk about the future there? You want to hold off on that? I don't know if it's like jumping the gun a little.
We can just a little bit. I'm making like right now, like things I'm already doing is we make all of our mid controls with it, so everyone is the exact same.
Yeah.
So we're doing all mids, slowly but surely trying to add models and setups, because you can have one model and